Hello, everybody. Xyco back, your bad influencer, telling you things you don't want to know and showing you things you don't want to see. I had another interesting religious conversation, but the moment I saw his face, I knew I recognized him from somewhere. He was happy to talk to me, uh, or so it seemed, but I felt like his aim is not to teach. His aim is to harvest new recruits for Islam. I confused him with somebody else who's basically an opposing side. I actually called him Sam Shamoun. I think they come from the same or a similar country because they look a little bit alike. But Sam Shamoun is like a fanatical Christian and tries to prove all the Muslims wrong all the time. And this guy is, yeah, basically, as he said, the opposition, because Sam Shamoun is to him the devil. So, yeah, after the conversation, I realized where I knew him from. And I'll reveal everything after the video. For now, I'd like you all to go in with an open mind. The conversation was interesting. Go ahead and watch and tell me what you think. Here's what we discussed. Hello. Islam is the truth.
Hello.
Oh, okay. I love this. So you're a Muslim?
I am.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. You're a Muslim as well, I take it.
No. Well,
You're not, all right?
well, okay.
Not
so,
yet?
I am. I don't really believe in religion, because I believe that Allah gave us multiple prophets, and religion was never given. So the laws were given, the proper way of conduct was given, how we should behave in daily life was given, but
That is religion by definition. Religion is your way of life.
yeah, but yeah, I guess you can say that. By that definition, yeah, I guess I do follow it, but I do not.
That is the definition of religion. And we say that religion has always been the same since the beginning. God has always kept humanity to the same standard. Be good to each other. Don't harm others, and don't kill, and don't steal, and worship the one true God. Build relationship with the one true God. Don't worship the creation. Worship the Creator. Because you as a human being were created for worship. You cannot escape worship. If you don't worship God, you're going to worship something else, whether it's sports teams, men, women, money, cars. You'll find something to worship. You can't escape it. God says to direct that worship towards the Creator.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that's what religion is. So the Islam and the Quran, with the book we have, is the words of God directly telling you what is the best way to protect yourself from this reality, the falsehood, the smoke screen, this reality that is set against us, right? World leaders, the devil, whatever you want to call them, they all have an agenda, and that agenda is not favoring you and I. And God wants to shield you from that, right?
Yeah, no, I
So that's
100% agree.
yeah.
No, absolutely no, no
So
discussion
you're
on
a
that one.
Muslim. What's going on, friend?
Well, I guess by that definition, I would be considered a Muslim, because Muslim means to submit to the will of God, right?
Yeah, so you have it inside of you, right? You have it in your natural inclination because you're not adverse to everything that I said. You just have to act upon it to become officially a Muslim by reading what God is telling you, questioning, learning, understanding, and taking small steps towards that. I mean, Islam is not a state of perfection; it's a state of attempt at working and doing the right things that God is commanding you.
Well, I am religious. I've always been religious. I've always believed in God. In fact, I've been doing research on religion, on supernatural, on science, all kinds of stuff, like for 30 plus years. And I found
I got 22 years, so you're ahead of me in that. So that's good.
So, how old are you, by the way? Sorry if I.
I'm 42.
Okay. Well, yeah. So, yeah, you're just a little bit younger than I'm 47.
There you
Okay.
go.
So I guess we more or less follow the same path, which is great. Um, there are, because okay, for me, I don't necessarily follow any specific human religion, right? Any specific book
uniquely.
I don't follow any human religion. I would argue that Islam is not a human religion by the definition. So if we look at the Quran
Hmm.
and the scientific, historical, mathematical, linguistic miracles in it could not have come from a human. The book itself does not claim human authorship. The
Hmm.
Quran claims to be the literal words of the Creator. So that's where it differentiates itself from Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Shinto, Taoism, Confucianism. It does not have this element of human subjectivity. It claims, now I'm not saying you have to believe this, obviously,
Hmm.
from
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
but what it claims is
Hmm.
that this is an objective truth from a creator outside of this creation.
Hmm.
That's what the book claims to be. So, in your sense, I agree. I don't follow a human religion, I follow a divine religion.
Sure, sure. But how can you be sure that every word and the main message is legit? Because I'm again based on research, all religions they have the same foundation, and so nobody can ever argue about
Yeah.
that. I don't care.
Well,
Well,
that's,
hmm?
you could say that, right? But if we look at those foundations don't exist. So, for example, if we look at Judaism,
Hmm.
Judaism, and if you look at the Old Testament and their old teachings, it is not a strictly monotheistic religion. Has plurality in it. There is other creatures being worshipped. Elohim is one of the gods amongst the other Hebrew gods. Now, I'm not saying that was the teaching of Moses, but what they have preserved in their scripture does not speak to a unified Unitarian religion, to a singular deity. It talks about other things being worshipped. Even the children of Israel are referred to, the kings are referred to as gods. Moses is referred to as a god. The angels are referred to as gods. Whereas in Christianity, you have this divine trinity being taught. At the early churches, they're talking about God as three pieces, and these pieces are unique in personality, and the God is not the Father is not the Son is not the Spirit, yet they're all God. And but this is somehow one. It is a mathematical error that it's a conundrum. They say it's a mystery, right? Whereas Quran does not have the same ideology. It talks about a uniquely one creator, something that is unimaginable, unlike the creation, something that cannot, by definition, have parents, nor can it give children because of this unique status of the all powerful. You can
Hmm.
only have one all powerful. So again, when you talk about, yes, there are some commonalities, I will agree with you. There are preach being good to each other, not doing harm, not doing this. And I would argue that is because they were all originally from the same spring, yet they verted off and started getting poisoned and destructed. Now, going to your second point, where you said, how can you be sure every single word in the Quran is from God? This is where the mathematical formula of this book comes into play. It was revealed in the 6th century Arabia over a 23-year period. It
Hmm.
has all been memorized and has been preserved in its original form. I'm sure you've seen this in your research. What I would like you to research further
Actually,
into.
that's the thing, and that's what I would. That's what I wanted to ask you. And actually, because okay, I know what you're going to say, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but let me give you my perspective, and or at least
Sure.
what I research, and then I would love for you to answer. So again, we're not here to argue. I'd love to learn
Not at
from
all.
you.
This is a wonderful conversation,
Exactly,
very respectful. So
exactly,
please,
and I love this.
yes. As you see, ask me anything if you're a truth seeker, because I don't get offended by questions.
Yeah, well,
No matter
exactly,
no matter no matter how they may seem, I understand you're trying to actually seek. So that's respectable.
for me, this is a true, and again, I don't want to say whatever religion, but a true believer in any in God, in the Creator, right? Whatever you want to call Him. I think people like us are much closer to Him than people who take offense in every little thing. Am I right? Because
Yeah, you're right.
if you take offense, it's like you're not there to share the joy, and
Exactly.
you're just there to
Exactly.
pick a fight, and
Couldn't agree more.
exactly. So I'm happy we met. Maybe it was divine intervention.
There you go.
So okay, the other, because you mentioned other
Understand
gods
myself.
in yeah, there you go. I, but I know you.
Probably not, because I don't stream.
Is okay. Your name is Sam Shamoun something?
Oh no, God no. Sam Shamoon's the devil.
you, you look very much like this super Christian guy that I see in.
I know you're talking about Sam Shamoun. I am not Sam Shamoun. No, sir.
But you look so similar.
Do I? God, that's first time I hear that. But okay,
Okay.
no problem.
Okay. Well, I just saw it when you got bigger, so it's okay. Anyway, so the because I know this was written in the Bible because I did read the Old Testament, and nowhere was it mentioned that these other gods were angels, or because I know there is Ashtaroth, I know there is Baal, or Baalul something.
Yeah.
There are multiple other gods mentioned. Am I
Correct.
right?
No, but when it, for example, when it talks about um, in the story of God wrestling Jacob, it says the angel of the Lord came to
Mm-hmm.
him, and then the Lord. So it refers to the angel of the Lord as God. Now Christians will read that and they say, "Ha, this is Jesus in the Old Testament when he was a man." But like what I'm saying is the word God is not unique to the Creator God. It is used in many other references to other gods. When I say other gods, I'm talking about when it refers to angelic forms, when it refers to the kings of the children of Israel are referred to as gods. Moses and Aaron, they say, you are gods unto Pharaoh. So it refers to Moses and Aaron in clear scripture that they are gods to Pharaoh.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't mean that. So as a
Yeah.
Muslim, I read
Yeah.
that, I say, this means you are representative of God.
Yeah.
But the
Exactly.
word Elohim is used for other than the one true Elohim, is what I'm telling you. So there's, if you actually read about, scholarly views of early Judaism, they say that the term for them is not polytheistic, but it's another term that they believed in many gods. The ancient Jews did believe in other gods. They believed that, Baal was a real god, but it wasn't their god. Our God is better than your God, that kind of conversation. Where in Islam we say, La ilaha illallah. There are no gods other than Allah. Everything else is just the falsehood of your imagination or a demonic force trying to convince you that they have power when in truth they don't have power. They have limited power. Even if we were to understand it from a scientific perspective, if
Mm-hmm.
you and I are living in the third dimension and we meet a fifth dimension being, they do have higher power than us, but that doesn't make them God. It just makes them a different dimensional being. This is what Islam says, that these multidimensional beings, these higher dimensional beings, are not divine, whereas they fool humanity into thinking that they are divine entities.
Actually, there is something not far off written in the book of Enoch, which was the grandfather of
Yes,
Noah, right?
I'm familiar. Yep.
So again, because this is why I found it, because I was born into a Greek Orthodox household, and
Okay.
as what you said earlier, it did not make any sense about this Trinity thing. So as I started reading the Bible, because I was a Christian, I said, wait a minute. The more I'm reading, the less sense this starts to make. And it's not just the Trinity, even the fact with the God is love, and then I'm like, wait a minute. Christians claim
He
God is
doesn't
love.
say that.
Yeah, great.
That's not what the book says.
Exactly, and
For
so
I came not with peace, I came with the sword. That the
exactly.
man shall knock down, and the father shall kill his own son, and mother
I,
his
I, I
own
just I,
daughter, whatever. So it's like,
exactly, and I
where's the
give
love?
I give them two examples. And I always try to talk to Christians. I tell them, look, God is just, because He is the ultimate justice. He is the Creator. So by that
That's right.
definition, we have to obey. Period, whether we like it or not. But if you look at back in Egypt, right? Um, Moses knew that if when he was going to enter Egypt, Pharaoh would decline his request to leave, because God actually told
Correct.
him, "I'm going to harden his heart. He's gonna deny." So that's exactly what happened. So then eventually they had this battle, which is actually a horrible thing, because a lot of people died that time with the plagues and everything. They actually died,
Yeah.
and this is not mentioned at all actually in any Christian church. So then okay, eventually they gave in, and the magicians of the Pharaoh said, well, he obviously this guy worships the one God, the main one, so we cannot keep up anymore. So we have to admit defeat because our gods are not so much. So okay, that aside, Hebrews left. Red Sea parted, Pharaoh and his army followed. Red Sea closed on them. Imagine how many men and horses died that day. And then the Hebrews started, in fact, they had a song that our God is the God of war. And I'm like, so how can you guys, if you read your own book, how can you claim God is love? And I mean, and reality, right? The terror,
Yeah. And you're right about that. Now, this
right?
is where
Wait,
Islam
I'm
says
almost done.
Allah
I'm
Ghafur.
almost done. I'm almost
Sorry,
done.
go ahead.
So you have motherless, or sorry, fatherless children, sonless mothers, husbandless wives, because all these soldiers died. All these people were in terror. And then that's one. And then the other one, I know it's not written in the Quran. This is, I'm pretty sure it's written in the Torah as well. I know it's written in the Bible. As God was coming to basically meet his people, his chosen people, Harun was the high priest, right? Because Musa had a speech impediment. So two of his sons were charged with finding incense to please the Lord, so for the smell, and they could not find the correct incense. Uh, Came back with some other stuff that they figured is better than nothing. And as God passed and smelled the wrong incense, he burned them into pillars of flame, like burned them alive. And again, whether that is true or not, because I know Islam claims whatever is not in the Quran is not true. But whatever, whether it's true or not, if you believe this as a Christian, how can you believe God is love? He is
Yeah.
terror,
No, you're right. You're
and
right.
is ultimate justice 100%. We cannot argue that.
Sure.
But it's still a terror thing,
Yeah,
right?
and I'll add one more to that story. If you
Please.
look at the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel 5:2, when they went to kill the Amalekites, why would they kill the men, women, children, babies,
When they were entering
goats,
the whole,
sheep,
yeah.
donkeys? What did the donkeys and the sheep and the nursing babies do? Let's say the men, women, and children, they're all nursing babies. Why would
Yeah.
God want to do that?
Yeah.
So here's where Islam comes in, right? Where you have the Bible, what we have with us, New Testament and Old Testament, it's a culmination of writing over 1,600 years between 39 to 41 different human authors. Books have been added, books have been subtracted. It has been translated from 3 different languages. It's been in translation, you speak multiple languages. It's always an interpretation. You're losing something.
Yeah.
Now, the original Hebrew text, the original Torah, was lost for thousands of years. They say they kept it through chain of transmission, but that chain has breaks in it, sometimes 300 years between one narrator and the next narrator. So we say this is not the writings of the original Torah. This is not what God actually commanded them. This is evil men trying to justify their own behaviors. When you look at the stories of the prophets of the Old Testament, all of the prophets, excuse my language, were pieces of shit. They're all either drunk, Solomon is having sex with, she sees this lady, he likes her, so he kills the husband and marries her.
David, Dawood.
Yeah, right? That's David, sorry. And Solomon marries Bathsheba, and then he changes his religion to the Queen of Sheba, right? He marries it, then he changes his religion because he likes to please her and worship her false god. What? Or Prophet Lot, he's saved from Sodom and Gomorrah, but then he gets too drunk and he has sex with his own daughter night after night after night.
Yeah.
I don't drink anymore, but I used to drink, and I've been around people who drink. I never got that drunk to not know who's next to me. I'm sorry, I don't know how much you need to drink to sleep with your own daughter and be
Agreed.
okay with it. This is not real. This is disgusting stories written by mankind to justify their own behaviors. Now, so to me, I look at those stories, I don't think that's true. I don't think any of those stories are true. Now, the Quran, you're not going to find that. There's no pornography in the Quran. It doesn't talk about the whore of Babylon and men hung like donkeys, and this is in the Old Testament. I'm like, what is this? This is pornography. You don't find that in the Quran. The Quran, again, being that divine language, this is what I was trying to tell you. If you read the Quran, I don't know if you've had a chance to read the Quran
Not
in
yet.
depth.
Not yet. I am.
So
I
I recommend the best translation for the for the modern English speaker is clearquran.com, or you can read notequran.com, and they have multiple translation languages. You can select whatever language works for you.
I'm using.
This is the best way.
I did download the app. Wait, let me tell you.
Yeah. A lot of these apps, they try to use Shakespearean English language, and it's very hard to
Is
understand
this
it.
something?
Uh, yeah, Quran, it's probably fine. It's probably fine. But what I recommend, if you go to these websites, they have apps as well, but it also has audiobooks, so you can play and listen to it. It's
Mm-hmm.
very friendly. And Clear Quran and Note Quran, like I said, has multiple language translations. So if English is not your first and you prefer Greek or whatever your traditional language is, you can listen to that as well. You can use that. But I think the benefit of reading the Quran, first of all, you're reading a translation. It's not the original language. It is still an interpretation, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it has been captured very well, particularly in Clear Quran's English version. For the modern English speaker, they've done a great job. But when you read it in Arabic, there is some magnificent things in there. Like, for example, when there's a chapter when it talks about the honeybee,
Mm-hmm.
before the usage of the word bee, and I'm going to butcher this, so forgive my, I don't have this memorized,
No, that's
but
fine. That's
the
fine.
number of the number of letters that it uses before the word bee starts is the exact number of the chromosomes in bee. When
Okay.
it uses the word donkey, the same formula. If you look at the number of letters before the word donkey is used, that's the number of the chromosomes of donkey. In the story of the cave, it talks about a dog. When it says dog, the number of letters before it gets to that is the same number of chromosomes. The same thing for man. It is fascinating when you're like, how is that possible? So many times you have this mathematical formula. When it talks about other things, I'll give you some other things that I do have the numbers memorized. When it mentions Adam and Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
Allah says, to me, the example of Jesus is that of Adam. I created him and I said, be, and he was. So he makes an equality between those two creatures. They were both born without fathers. Adam, he didn't even have a mother. But
Mm-hmm.
he's saying, to me, these were creations. These were my command. I said, be, and it was. How many times is Jesus mentioned in the Quran? 25 times.
Mm-hmm.
How many times is Adam mentioned in the Quran? Different chapters, different verses, 25 times.
Mm-hmm.
Was Prophet Muhammad keeping a notebook with him, and every time he said Jesus, he's like, I gotta make sure I go back and I say Adam to make sure there's a balance? Now, this balance happens again and again. The number of times man is used is 24. The number of time woman is used is 24. Allah says, to me, men and women are equal indeed in the sight of God. Spiritually, we're equal. It is what we do. The number of times the word day is mentioned, 365 times in the Quran. Yom is mentioned. The number of time moon is mentioned, month, 12 times.
Mm-hmm.
Every time. So it's like these things where you're just like, how is this? So this goes on. There are so many more layers. I don't want to bore you by layering this to you, but when you look at these word usage, this
Mm-hmm.
letter usage, these formulaic things where you're like, it would have taken a genius. Now, mind you, the Quran was not revealed in chapters, it was revealed in verses. Later, the Prophet gave command. He said, these verses belong in this chapter. These verses belong in this chapter. So that came at a later time. First, the verses came all over
Mm-hmm.
time. So imagine you have a data dump. Different pieces are coming in response to situations that are happening. Then later, the instruction comes to says to compile them in this fashion. Then they compile them, and then there's this mathematical beauty in it. Now, two solutions come up. You talked about I don't believe in human religion.
Mm-hmm.
Either Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a freaking genius and he had knowledge that no other human possessed, which for that, I mean, you may not worship him as God, but you should still know this man. This guy was a genius. You got to learn how he did what he did. It's either
Yep.
that's the solution or the other solution that this is the direct words of God. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you start stacking all these things, it doesn't make sense any otherwise. I'll give you a story that resonates with me. I named one of
Please.
my children after the honeybee. In the Quran, there's the chapter of the honeybee. And when Allah starts talking about the honeybee, in one of the few verses, it just goes into the bee. It says the bee, it goes out, it flies into the flowers, it collects nectar, it comes back, it goes back to the hive and creates honey. Every time it says the word bee, moving, collecting honey, it uses the feminine,
Mm-hmm.
the honeybee in the feminine now. Now, about 70 years ago, in the 40s and 60s, they started doing research and they determined that only the female honeybees collect nectar,
Mm-hmm.
not the males. The males, they guard the hive, they do these duties, but they don't collect
The
nectar.
soldiers, yeah.
How,
You know,
how did the Quran determine this 1400 years ago?
there
One
are.
more thing.
Mm-hmm.
When it talks about the honeybee, it says butunihin, in their bellies. So they have multiple stomachs.
Uh-huh.
Now, was Prophet Muhammad in the middle of the Arabic desert dissecting honeybees to determine gender? And it's like,
Under the
how did he
microscope.
get this wrong? This would be an easy way for the Quran to be like, this is not from God. It's not using multiplicity. It's saying that the males went out to collect honey. We know the males don't collect honey. So when it talks about, this is just, again, I don't want to bore you. There's so many scientific layers, but this one to me is one of those unique ones.
Yeah.
When the Quran talks about it, it's very nonchalant. It's just like the honeybee does this, there's benefit in the honey, there's this. We all know there's benefit in honey. The Egyptians used to have it, so I'm not even going to talk about that. What I'm talking about is the things that it mentioned where it wouldn't have been known to anybody.
Yeah.
So to me, these are just some layers of beauty within the scripture that give it credibility beyond this human intervention.
Yeah, and just to add to that, just recently I was having this talk with another Muslim, and he was telling me about the planet Pulsar, I think.
The pulsars, yes.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
also like,
The Tariq, yeah, when it talks about that.
how would he even know in those days?
Yeah.
So
Now, did he tell you about the story of creation of the universe according to the Quran?
uh, give me the short.
I'll
I
tell
don't
you.
remember, but give me the short version, please.
Very short. So the short version, the Quran says, in the beginning, the heavens and the earth were joined together as one mass. Then we set them asunder. So you singularity, Big Bang. First, there was smoke. You translate that to science, the gaseous nebulae state.
Yeah.
Then the Lord said to the heavens and the earth, come together willingly or unwillingly. They all came together willingly. What happened after the gaseous nebulae state? The laws of physics set in, the planets and the stars started forming.
Mm-hmm.
Then it says, then we created all life from water. The Quran makes, now in the Arabic desert, to say all life came from water, in the middle of this, no water anywhere, this is a claim that the Quran made.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and then in other chapters it talks about how the sun, the moon, and all the planets are swimming in a heavenly orbit. يَسْبَحُونَ فِي فَلَكٍ. Now, the sun having an orbit, very controversial many years ago. Because they said the sun doesn't move, the planets move, the moon moves, we are rotating around the sun. Now we learn that the sun has an orbit around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. The Quran made this claim 1400 years ago.
Yeah.
This could have been disproven. Even Einstein, he said this was his biggest blunder. He said that the universe was static, and now he knows that the universe is in expansion and the sun is orbiting around. The expansion of the universe, the Quran says, and we're constantly expanding this universe. It says that in the Quran. So these are things where, like, when you look at the Bible, if you look at the story of creation, there's all kinds of holes in it in Genesis. When it talks about, God created day and night on day one, then he created the planets, and then on day three, he created the stars. How do you have light before the light maker? On day one, you had light, but you didn't have the stars, the sun to give light until day three. So that is a problem. Or it says that he created
I haven't even thought about that yet. Good one.
Yeah, look at the order of the days in the biblical story doesn't make sense. It says he created the plants before the sun. How do you create plants need photosynthesis?
Light, yeah.
How does that happen? So even in chapter 1 of Genesis contradicts chapter 2 of Genesis in the creation story. You don't have to read too far into the Bible before you start seeing these things that you're like, this is not from God. This is clearly, and even Christian theologians and Christian philosophers, they say, well, this is not literal, this is metaphorical. Quran is all literal. It tells you exactly what happened. It tells you exactly how he did it, and it challenges you. You talked about asking questions. Mm-hmm. In every chapter of the Quran, when you get to read it, it tells you, have they not thought about this? Have they not pondered? It challenges the reader to think, question, and ponder. It doesn't tell you shut off your mind and just believe blindly. It says, no. Go seek the evidence. Go look at the world. Go look at the generations before you. You talked about the story of the Pharaoh. Again, forgive me if I'm speaking too much, but this is very interesting from the Quranic. The Quran says that he will make the Pharaoh of Moses an example to all mankind. Now, they have found his body fully preserved of Ramesses II. If you look it up right now, Ramesses II, who was the Pharaoh of Moses, has been found fully preserved because they said his body, when he went under the water, the natural salts or whatever, they preserved his body. So he's one of the only pharaohs whose body is still around. If you go look at Google, the Pharaoh Ramesses II body, you will see it. They still have it in the museum. Allah said, I will preserve you for all mankind. So this is one of those examples where we're like, wow. Quran says, when the Pharaoh of Moses, He said, when I die, the heavens and the earth will weep for me. Neither the heavens or the, no, I'm sorry, let me retract. The Quran says, when he died, neither the heavens or the earth wept for him. A statement the Quran makes doesn't mean much. You're like, okay, that's good. Allah said that. When, after the 1700, we discovered the Rosetta Stone, now we can decipher the hieroglyphs and the pyramids. When they went inside the pyramids and you saw the tomb of Ramesses II, there was an inscription on the wall. He says, when I reach Osiris, the heavens and the earth will weep for me. So Pharaoh made a statement 2,000 years before Muhammad, because Moses was 2,000 years before Muhammad, right? More than 2,000 years, 2,500 years probably, right? Pharaoh made this statement, when I die, the heavens and the earth will weep for me. The Quran answered him during the time of Muhammad. He says, when you died, neither the heaven nor the earth wept for you. And we didn't know that's what it says inside the pyramids. The hieroglyphic language was lost for thousands of years at the time of Muhammad. The pyramids themselves were under sand. You couldn't even see them, right? They had to excavate them. So these things that the Quran made claims, you're like, where did this come from? And I'll finish with one last thought on Egypt, and since you mentioned that. In the story of Yusuf, Sayyidina Joseph, when he goes to Egypt, this is before Moses, right? This is how the children of Israel end up in in Egypt, right? The Bible, when it tells the story, it talks about Joseph and the Pharaoh. Joseph and the Pharaoh. Joseph and the Pharaoh. Every time it talks about it. The Quran doesn't do that. It says Joseph and the king. Joseph and the king. Joseph and the king. Egyptologists today tell you during the period of Joseph, it was not the Pharaohic period. At that time, the rulers were called kings. The Quran knew that. For hundreds of years, Christian scholars made fun of Muslims. They said, you made a mistake. In the Quran, it says Joseph and the king, we know was a pharaoh because Egyptian kings were called pharaohs. That's not the case. During that period, they were called kings. The house of the king was called the pharaoh, the building, but the man itself was called a king. And that is what Egyptologists today would tell you.
I have I have the same issue, and just to continue on what you're saying, I have the same issue with the idea of the church. A church is not a building. The church is a gathering of people, right?
It's a gathering of people. That's right.
So yeah,
the insignia was the
even
word,
that
right?
in itself is a misinterpretation, is a mistake. This is the church. No,
So-
that's a temple. That's a building.
So this is another thing where Islam got the historical facts accurate in a time where the knowledge didn't even exist. So if you say Muhammad was copying from the Christians, well, he would have copied Joseph and the Pharaoh. He would have said the same thing.
Identical, yeah.
But he didn't. He did. In that instance, he did not. He flipped it, and then they mocked the Muslims for that. Hundreds of years later.
Yeah.
And then later, when the knowledge after the Rosetta Stone came out, now we have access to Egyptology, and we see what actually happened. They're like, wait a minute, that's not what Islam. Islam is actually accurate in this statement. So this has been. So again, I urge you to read the Quran for yourself in your seeking of knowledge, because you mentioned something earlier in this conversation. Islam teaches us those who seek the truth, Allah will make that path a pathway to heaven for them. So asking questions, being open to it, this is the right path to be on. I began, like I told you, about 22 years ago, and when I began, I was a deist. I believed in a creator. I didn't believe in religion. I actually was born into a secular
That's where I am right now.
Muslim home. Yeah, I was born into a secular Muslim home. We didn't practice Islam. I never went to mosque. I never prayed. I never did any of that. And I grew up in the United States, as you can probably tell. I partied. I was actually a DJ for many years. I was in the clubs, living that life. Then I began thinking, there's got to be more to life. I studied Christianity, Judaism, before I read the Quran. I read the Quran the first time when I was 26 years old. And it took me many years. It wasn't until 8 years ago that I began practicing Islam. So Islam is not one of those things where you read it and you're like, okay, that's it. I close my eyes, I believe. No, you keep thinking, you keep questioning. But when it became true in your heart, you see it, you have the evidence in front of you, don't delay it. Because the devil's never going to want you to become Muslim. Because to him, it's a problem. If he loses another one, he's like, damn it, I lost another one. So you're his enemy right now. So just know that right now you have somebody who's very scared, because you're somebody who's thinking with their heart, and you have the knowledge in front of you. And that makes you a dangerous person, because now you're going to be in the party of God. And, you already are. You have the fitrah, you have the natural inclination. We believe that every human being is born with that natural inclination. This is the Islamic notion that you already know you have a creator, you already know you have to connect to this creator. And the fact that you got out of the dogmatic church, I mean, I have respect for the orthodoxy, I have respect for the church, but unfortunately, they rely upon arrogance and no, we know it, and you have to believe it, and it's a mystery, and you have to shut off and blind faith. This is not Islam. God gave you a brain for a reason. You should question, you should ponder, you should seek.
That's my reasoning as well. If we believe that He
Absolutely.
is all powerful and He gave us these wonderful brains, and humans have always been investigative, right? Except when it
Absolutely.
comes to the religion, because that one you have to follow.
Now, the Quran commands you to use your brain.
There you
It's
go.
not a question. The Quran says you have to think about this.
There
You
you
have
go.
to ponder on this.
Because
You have to ask questions.
you know, God Himself, we cannot question. Fine, but the writings, but the evidence, because
Teachings, yes.
right? Because it is
You have to
always
establish.
all
How
of
do you
it
know
is
this is
written
from
by
God
a
and not from
person.
the devil?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's what
Now,
I
so for
believe
us,
as well.
yes, it has been written by a person, but you have, when the Prophet received it, remember, Prophet of Islam, peace be with him, was illiterate. He couldn't read
Yep.
or write, so he never wrote any of it. He would receive from Gabriel, he would receive directly from God, and he would recite it. Those around him memorized it, and then they wrote it down. So we have millions of people until today that memorize this original Arabic, and each person that memorizes has a certificate, and the certificate would trace back teacher, 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 all the way back to the Prophet.
Hmm.
So we believe that knowledge comes from two sources. It either comes from God or it comes from the devil.
Hmm.
So everything you have been taught, if you cannot trace it back to God, you're tracing it back to the devil. And this is this reality. So everything around this, we have a sworn enemy. And the devil knows we're not all going to be murdering people. We're not all going to rape people. He's going to get each one of us in a different way.
Yeah.
So he will try to divert you from this path, because if you read the Quran, you see like this is his agenda. God created Adam, devil became jealous. Why are you going to give power to this single three-dimensional creature who doesn't have any divine knowledge, who is limited, who's this? I am made of fire, I'm a higher element, I am better than him. The first instance of segregation and racism was in Islam, because
Iblis.
when the devil, the Quran presents this like arrogance of, I'm white, he's black, I'm better than him, I'm blue, he's brown, like whatever the devil is. But this is where it came from. In Islam, the Satan, Shaitan, Iblis, is not an angel. He is a jinn. He is another entity. The higher, so you have the angels, you have the jinns, and you have the humans. And there may be others, but what we're taught about is these three creations. The angels are more so like robots. Like if you have a robot vacuum in your house, it's not going to turn into a jet engine. It has one job to do, and it does that job, and it doesn't question. It doesn't have freedom, right? It vacuums the floor, it goes back and charges itself. These are angels.
Hmm.
Jinns are like humans. They have free will, but they are made of a higher element. They live in the angelic realm. They live in the fifth dimension, and they also have ability to live thousands of years. So they are a higher powered creature. They were on the earth before we came on the earth. So when you look at the book of Enoch and it talks about these other things, to us those are the jinns. These are not angels. These are not fallen. These are the jinn creatures. Then God created humans last, Adam. And we're the simplest. We're made from clay. But we have that freedom of choice. And we believe from the Islamic paradigm, before we were brought into this reality, God gave you a choice. You want to be a human, a jinn, or an angel? You and me were like, we choose human. That's the easiest one. You get to live for 100 years? Then I get to be in heaven close to God, higher than the angels, because I chose him, because I persevered in this test of life. So the human test is the hardest test, but it also has the biggest reward, and it comes with the shortest timeline. To us, 100 years life is very much, 80 years, 50 years, a lot of life, but in truth, it's not even a millisecond in the scheme of things. In the scheme of things, you look at the Earth being here for billions of years, these planetaries, and we're here for like a breath, a millisecond. So you and I, so from the Islamic paradigm, that's how we became to be, and this is what our test is, the short-lived test on this life. And hopefully we make the right choices and we end up in the right place. But God has made it easy. If you read the Quran, Allah will tell you this religion is made to be easy. It's not made to be hard. The limitations are for your protection. The no alcohol, the no fornication. These are all protections. These are shields. You can do it. You can drink alcohol. You can fornicate. You can still be a Muslim and ask for forgiveness. God says, if I wanted you to be perfect, if he says this, he says, if mankind stopped sinning and asking for my forgiveness, I would do away from you and bring another creation. Because I don't want that. You are made to be imperfect. What gives us this relationship is the fact that you make mistake and you come back to me.
Yeah, and this was brought up just in another video recently I was watching, that see, Allah is the devil. He wants you to sin, and I'm like, ho 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 ho. That's a very simplistic way of
It's
seeing
a very
things.
simplistic way.
I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
It's the
like,
fact that he knows what we're capable of and he knows our weakness, and he says, I'm not going to, just because you have weakness, you're not going to be thrown into the fire. You're going to be thrown into the fire if you are arrogant and you refuse. You say, no, why am I going to apologize? I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to treat the world however I want. I'm going to exploit and do this and that and have no accountability.
yeah,
This
that's
is where
that's a bit
problem
different
happens.
from oops, I made a mistake, or ah, I do what I want. Exactly.
Exactly. That's what it is. And
Yeah.
the prophet told us, he says, God brags to the angels about this servant of his. This is authentic hadith. And he says, this servant of mine, he keeps sinning. And the companions are like, why would God like this guy? He's sinning. He tells the angels, he's like, my servant loves me so much that every time he sins, he keeps coming back to me. And I'll continue to forgive him, even if his sins will come in like the foam of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
I'll continue to forgive him as
Yeah,
long
yeah.
as he asks. As long as he asks. The foam of the sea keeps coming all day. It keeps coming.
And
But as long
reality,
as you ask, I'll keep forgiving.
exactly, and this is basically what he's done to the Hebrews, right, to the Jews.
Yes.
Because how many
And what
times
do?
did they not err and leave him, and then they went back, ah,
Yeah.
and he forgave them every time. So
You're
exactly.
talking about after he saved them, he killed all these pharaohs and everything else. They go to the other side. What is the first thing they do? They build a golden calf and they start worshiping again. It's like, did I just not split the sea for you? Like,
Yeah.
what more do you want? And he still forgave.
Even
and he
even
still
before
forgave.
that, after they were still walking in the desert, and again, I read this in the Bible. They were complaining, maybe we should just go back. Yeah, we were slaves, but at least they were cool cucumbers. At least there was nice
That's right.
food. I'm like, dude, you've just been rescued.
Did you
My
forget
God,
they killed your
you've seen the
boys?
miracles. Yeah, and then
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
complaining about the.
Well, and the Quran tells us about, after he delivers them to the promised land, he tells them, okay, now go in there and fight the people that are in the land. They're like, I'm not going to fight. You go fight.
Ah, yeah,
Moses,
I
you
heard
and your
about-
God, you go fight. I'm like,
Send
are
an
you
angel.
serious? You're not man enough to go fight for your right? So that's why he makes them run another 40 years in the desert. You deserve the punishment. Nah, man. But listen, man, it is 12:40 my time. I gotta go get ready to go to mosque today. It's Friday. I'm gonna go do my
Ah, yeah,
weekly prayers.
you're
It's been a
12
pleasure
hours
talking
behind.
to you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it very
Yeah.
much as well.
Appreciate it.
Honestly, I hope we can stay in touch because I do enjoy this.
Yeah. If you ever want to catch me on here again, I do use that hashtag. And also, I don't have an active social media at all. I don't record any of this stuff, but I do have that as my Twitter tag. Like I said, I never use it, but if you reach out to me, I'll get a notification and we can set up some time. But I put this as a hashtag on here, just like you have religion. So if you ever want to reach me again, and hopefully we're on here, you can just add this on there and maybe we'll be reconnected. But
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
been a pleasure talking to you. You're extremely respectful gentleman. I appreciate our time. I appreciate you listening. And anything that I said today that was beneficial, know that it came from God. Any mistake that I made, it was mine, and forgive me for it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for also taking the time to explain. And yeah, I did learn from
Absolutely.
it, so this is wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Have a great rest of your day.
May you be blessed.
Bye. Thank you.
So, what did you guys think? Did you notice that when he felt that I was going to give in, he all of a sudden had to go? I highly doubt that he wasn't going to the mosque to pray. I think he was moving on to harvest another recruit. He felt like he got me, so he was rushing to. Someone who is excited to share their religion will spend as much time as needed to answer questions. I've talked to somebody like that before, in the guy who tried to save my soul. He was really excited about Islam. He really tried to help me out, and he was happy to answer questions as much as was needed. In fact, I think he put his kids aside just for a while, just to share his joy in Islam, which I think is great. This one is not about that. He's really about gathering souls, so to speak. But I mean, he claims that he is about answering questions about Islam. I mean, if you saw the backdraft, but it did not feel like that. He has the face of a salesman and the heart of a terrorist, I feel. Just go ahead and watch the conversation he had with Tal, because, like I said, I figured out where I knew him from. Tal, the traveling clat, has his own YouTube channel. He's an actual Iraqi Israeli Jew, and that conversation went totally different than mine, because I like to play along and I like to have an open mind, so I did not debate. Tal tends to debate with the Muslims, and he was very squirmy in Tal's video. So I posted the link in the description. Go ahead, take a look, compare, and tell me what you think. Come back and leave a comment, and like I said, make up your own mind. Always think for yourselves. So again, as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for your patience. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Be careful with those with the faces of saints, because they may have hidden agendas. Think for yourselves, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.